Hi, I'm Pete Maldonado, the CEO of Chomps, and I'm excited to welcome you to Chompcast, a Chomps original podcast where we'll have 15 to 30-minute fireside chats focused on the CPG industry.
And I'm Rashid, the COO. Together, we'll be sharing valuable insights, advice, and real-world examples with aspiring and current business owners. We're happy to have you here along for the ride.
Welcome to Chompcast episode 11. This week we interviewed the co-founder and co-CEO of Beckon Ice Cream, Gwen Burlingame. Gwen, thank you for joining us today. Nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you too. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Would you mind, for listeners that don't know of Beckon, just give them a quick intro on what is Beckon Ice Cream and how you got started?
Absolutely. So Beckon is premium lactose-free dairy ice cream and novelties that are unbelievably delicious and surprisingly lactose-free. We got started because my co-founder, Katie, is severely lactose intolerant. So she's bummed she couldn't make it today, but it all kind of started with her need. Like me, she grew up in a family that had like daily ice cream after dinner. And she says she thinks that that's actually what caused her lactose intolerance. But as a teenager, she discovered she was lactose intolerant and then kind of went on this search to figure out something to fill the ice cream void in her life. And so back then, it was either going to really stigmatizing medicinal brands that are more economy style ice cream, or going to the non-dairy alternatives, which at that time were more rice and soy based and have now been replaced by coconut and almond and soy and oat. But she never really found that same creamy taste and texture that she grew up loving. And so she started developing our ice cream for herself. So we use fresh milk and cream. We add in the lactase enzyme, which is the enzyme your body needs to digest lactose, but that people who are lactose intolerant don't produce enough of. And we don't use any gum stabilizers or additives, another thing that can kind of cause other digestive health issues for folks who have sensitive stomachs. And so that's really what sets us apart. And it's all the same kind of flavor and creaminess that someone expects from a premium ice cream.
That's awesome. Tell us about the name. What's Beckon?
Great question. So we actually started out at a farmer's market, and we were under another name back then. And when we went into stores, we were like, we need something that really speaks to who we are as a brand. We wanted something that, it was a little bit ambiguous so that, we could venture into other areas of the grocery store at some point. But we got to Beckon because we had a great branding partner that helped us out with it. But in our kind of interviews with them, kept using our hands and being like, we want to call people back to real ice cream. We want them to come back and feel like they can enjoy the real thing. And so we kept using that like beckoning hand motion. So that was kind of the inspiration behind it. And we also kind of talked about how we felt called to do this. So it was kind of like this beckoning to create our company.
I love that. That's crazy. So the thing I really like about this is that, and you said this a bunch of times already, like you're thinking about no trade-offs, right? So you're trying to deliver a product that tastes just like the ice cream that everyone grew up with, that loves, but now they had a problem digesting it. And so you're trying to give them exactly what they were hoping for without the digestion problems. Like that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. That's exactly what we're hoping to do. And, we really pride ourselves on the fact that it's real ice cream. It's not an alternative. It's all, if you look at our ingredient label, it's all the same ingredients as a traditional premium ice cream, just with the lactase enzyme involved. So really, if it tastes the same and we have all the same great products, why does any ice cream need to have lactose? Everyone can just have Beckon. So that's the long-term goal. World domination, of course.
Oh, that's interesting. So you've identified a need in the marketplace for folks that have sensitivities to lactose. You've been able to serve that, but the product is great for everyone. How do you market that in such a way where you're getting the attention of the folks that are lactose free, but not scaring away folks that just want to taste the ice cream? It seems like a pretty tough thing to do, because sometimes it can be somewhat counter. People just assume that it's lactose free, it's going to taste different.
Totally. And that is something that we've, certainly encountered over time. Actually, my co-founder, Katie, when we used to do demos in store, and there would be somebody kind of hesitant to try because they'd be like, oh, it's lactose free. Or we'd get I like my ice cream with lactose, thanks. She'd be like, I will give you $20 if you can tell the difference. And she always says, I've never had to give somebody $20. So that is certainly something that we encounter, but our goal is always to serve the needs of kind of our core consumer first. Mm-hmm. So lactose intolerance impacts a quarter of Americans, and the demographics that have the highest incidence of lactose intolerance, which are Asian, Hispanic, and African American, are also the fastest growing within the United States. And this is a medical need, it's genetic. So, this isn't a lifestyle that might come in and out of vogue. It's something that somebody needs. And so, our primary concern is with meeting that consumer's needs. But one of our favorite kind of things that has happened through filling that need for that consumer is once our ice cream is in the home, it often becomes the ice cream of the house. So we get emails from moms who talk about how they bought our ice cream for one of their children and now their kids fight over it. And I think that it was especially true when we came out with our snack cups. They are a 3.5 ounce cup that has a complimentary topping in the lid, sprinkles, cookie gems, things like that. Kids love them. And that was certainly, with that fun of a format, it's beyond just being lactose free as the benefit. It also kind of takes on this whole other customer experience. So I think there are ways in which the format itself can answer to a new consumer, but we always target our primary consumer first, as well as other people with digestive health concerns, because often lactose intolerance overlaps with things like IBS and Crohn's, or just people generally interested in gut health.
The snack cups is an interesting concept. I mean, obviously, I've seen it done in yogurts before, but Is anyone else doing it in the ice cream space?
So in the ice cream space, we haven't encountered anybody else doing it, but we, would be lying if we said we didn't get the idea from yogurt. That's certainly the case. But also when we were in our office in Boston, probably around like 3:00 every afternoon, somebody would be like, does anybody want ice cream? And then that one person would go and get ice cream scoops for the whole team. And we had all of our mix-ins and things from R&D or when we'd be experimenting with new flavors. So we'd always have toppings on our afternoon ice cream. So that's also what we're looking to do, is really bring that kind of fun experience to a format that was really simple and easy, especially for parents. And but I have to say, adults alike also appreciate it. So yeah.
So let's talk about marketing and brand building. One of the I read somewhere that you guys were featured in a new movie called Meet Cute. Yeah. I guess with Pete Davidson. That's Kim Kardashian's ex, I guess now. So
yes, devastatingly so. I'm like, you couldn't have just hung on to that relationship. Just leave it longer.
Now he's a nobody. So tell us about how did that happen? Was this a paid placement, or how'd you make that happen?
So we got reached out to actually for a different movie that I haven't seen come out yet, actually. And in that movie, there was a lactose intolerant character. And so that's kind of how we were originally introduced to the whole concept of our product being in a movie. That opportunity, we're a small company. We weren't able to, meet the needs from a payment perspective for that one. But we had this other opportunity that was a little bit more in our wheelhouse, and we were able to bring tons and tons of samples to where they were filming in Brooklyn. And it was really exciting, but actually it filmed a long time ago. So it's funny to now see it actually coming to fruition. But it's a very interesting process to go through, because there's so much that you don't know going into it. So you're kind of assuming how something will come to life, on set. So it was really fun to finally see pictures and to finally see the movie, see Beckon on the truck, everything like that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we're big fans. And I'm kidding, I do love Pete Davidson, but I also love Kim K. Great businesswoman.
Agreed. Did you guys build that truck yourself, or was that like your truck, or you just put the signage on it?
Just the signage. Yeah. So everything, it's interesting. There were a lot of ideas that we were giving, but everything kind of happens with the set designers. There's a lot of people involved. So, but they did really eat Beckon ice cream on set. So, yeah.
Such a cool opportunity, though. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I'm just curious, what movie was this that had a lactose intolerant character? I'm trying to think, like, in what scenario would that play out?
I don't think that it's come out. And I can't even remember what it was going to be called, but it was like there was something about a dating situation, and this person was lactose intolerant. I'm not sure, but but it was a nice pathway into these other opportunities, as often happens.
That's great.
Have you received any exposure or follow-ups like, hey, I saw you in this show? And I know, like, I'm thinking back that, there's a few opportunities recently where we got some organic placement. We're like, what? It's there. And, every now and then and also just even you setting it up, it's a pretty cool feeling to see the product.
Absolutely. It feels like kind of a dream come true to see it on the screen. We've had customers message us and email us. I wonder if it's the kind of thing where I wonder how many more have seen it or, seen our Instagram and gone out and sought out the movie. So it's been fun to at least see how engaged our followers are, and that how they're messaging us, our existing customers, and being just really excited to see the product that they love so much somewhere kind of in pop culture, and then letting us know. Really love that.
Yeah, we had gotten featured in a couple Hallmark movies. I don't even know if it exists anymore. And my aunt actually would take like the pictures or videos of it, and I'm like, I don't even know these exist anymore, but they do somewhere. She found the channel.
Of course, around Christmas. What else are you watching in the month of December?
I guess I don't know. But apparently Netflix actually is a show called Partner Track, and they featured us. So episode 8, Partner Track, go find it.
I noticed that actually. I meant to tell you that. Yes, I watched Partner Track like 2 weeks ago, and I saw you guys in there.
Awesome. Well,
yeah, we had no idea. I think someone forgot to flip it over because all the sticks were opposite. There was one great shot of the logo, but again, yeah, it's just a cool feeling. I mean, you think about in the early days, just getting things started. Will it ever get off the ground and something like that happens? So, congrats. I mean, that's awesome.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You mentioned the snack cups. Any other? I mean, if you think of ice cream, there's a lot of they do like with the Snickers ice cream bars and the obviously ice cream sandwiches and things like that. Are you thinking of any other formats?
So yes, of course. What kind of innovative emerging brand would we be if we weren't thinking of all of the different formats? But right now we're really excited to be expanding the snack cups. They actually just launched in a few Sprouts across the country. And still have a lot of space left to get those in the hands of customers. But we're very excited about the prospect of going into new formats, especially, within ice cream and novelties and things like that. One of the biggest drivers for the brand was the fact that, starting with Katie and then branching out to the rest of our customer base, they're often kind of left out of these really fun experiences, like going to the ice cream truck or like going to the cooler at the pool and being able to have that, or even just getting the right type of flavor from the grocery store. And so our goal is to, have that diversity within our product portfolio so that people really feel like they can participate in all of these different avenues. And obviously we're still, early in our life cycle, but always looking ahead to what we can do to next fill that customer need, and also do kind of twists on classics that maybe they couldn't previously participate in. We like that element of nostalgia, bringing that into ice cream. Everyone has ice cream memories, so want to kind of play into that.
Awesome. Let's talk about business. And so running the business right now, we're all in the same business here. So can you talk a little bit about some challenges you guys are facing right now that you're working through?
So the past 2 years have been very unique because of some of the challenges that it's presented for supply chain and just even down to manufacturing, ensuring that we can get everything to where it needs to be on time and in full, all of that. We've certainly had to make decisions, strategic decisions to pull back in some ways, maybe just be able to focus on certain partners, things of that nature, just because of how unpredictable things have been. I would say that now we're really focused on fundamentals and ensuring that our core business is strong and that the partners that we have are feeling supported before we go on to other things. But that's kind of where a lot of our focus is. Otherwise, we'd be all over the place creating so many different fun formats. I look forward to the day that, we can be a little bit more optimistic in that way.
It's these shitty situations that force you to take, like you said, the word fundamentals is great, because it's like a lot of times when things are good and great, you run in a certain direction, not thinking about kind of, is this the best decision? Is it the right decision? So I think if you can grow and continue to operate through the last 2 years, and Pete and I Chomp just had our 10-year anniversary, and it's just crazy to think we've been doing this for this long. In the last 2 years, I mean, look, there's been some challenging times as we scale the business, but the last 2 years have been tough on a lot of different parts of the business. And, if you're able to get through it, and like you said, you get back to the fundamentals, you understand what's the right shelf, because not all shelf or freezer is created equally. So there's always like a silver lining in the situation, and we're definitely not through it, but it sounds like you made the right decisions to be able to keep growing the business and align with the right partners and make the right decisions. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any brand, any company that's been immune to it to some degree. Like, some folks may think they're on the right side of it, but it's only a matter of time before some other impact. It's like, oh, well, this happened, which then impacted this industry, which ultimately got back to them. So
yes, I remember when all of the stuff with shipping was happening and all the ports were clogged and all of these things. I said to my dad, I was like, oh, the supply chain stuff, I can't even talk about it. He was like, how is this affecting ice cream? Why would that affect you? And it's that trickle down effect of it really, those types of things impact everybody. And so it has been great to have a community of other founders and people that we know in the industry to lean on in those instances, because I think it also makes everybody just that much more open, because everyone's going through the same thing and looking to help each other. So yeah. And
sometimes you just need to vent, because at the end of the day, like, talking about it out loud helps you address it. So like, I think everybody sometimes has feedback or like they think that they get help. At the end of the day, sometimes just talking through it is all you needed to just be able to have a sounding board.
Completely. Can I ask you guys what your biggest challenges that you're looking at addressing are now?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been fortunate to have great momentum and perform well. And we're at this point now where we don't have enough inventory or capacity to meet demand. And so whenever we typically say that, everybody's response was like, oh, that sounds like a great problem to have. But it honestly isn't, because it's a lot harder on the team to be able to have weekly, if not daily, inventory planning calls, PO prioritization calls, deciding where inventory is going to go, how do we pull back. It's like this trickle down effect where it's actually creating a lot more work to be able to continue to grow. And then on the flip side, we're scrambling to find other ways to produce our product at our, right? We have a high bar of quality and consistency. So I think right now our biggest challenge is finding capacity that can meet the Chomp spec and our consumers high, as Beckon probably has, the consumer expects a certain quality of product. So that's where it's at. I mean, it's as you grow, scale just brings a mountain of other problems that we didn't necessarily think of, right? Before it was like, beef trim is one of our biggest things. We just assume there's always going to be enough. But when you're reaching like really critical scale, it's tough. And but it's also things like, just trying to think about redundancy in the supply chain, diversification of regions where things are being sourced from, things like that. But right now, top of the list is really around capacity.
Yeah, I'll build on that too, because it's like the hardest thing to do. So I'm on the sales and marketing side of things. So when we have to pull back and say no to business, it's like just gut wrenching. Like you just want to like puke. It's like it affects you so much. So it's one of the hardest things to do, but you have to be able to prioritize. And then, which is also a terrible thing to do, to think you're like prioritizing customers. Like this is like, I love them all equally. They're like my kids, It's like, but you have to though. And it's one of the toughest decisions to make. But one of the things I get that keeps me up at night though, especially when you come into these supply constrained timelines, it's like our customers are there. They're looking for the product. And if the product is not there, they're going to find something else, especially if they're going back to the store time and time again, and you're not there for an extended period of time. Like for how long is that going to last before you start seeing velocities, tumbling across the board on a national level? So, obviously like now Rashid's done a great job with the ops team and just getting things back on track. But, our sales team has done a really great job of maintaining those relationships. And I think, as soon as the product comes back on shelf, it's been turning very quickly and velocities are right back where they were, which is all great signs. But I think, it still gets me nervous though. You're like, how big of an impact could that have had? Did that take some wind out of the sails? Because we were on this really crazy trajectory, and does that hurt you in the long run? So we're working really hard. We're doing a lot of brand building to really make up for that lost time. But it's all about maintaining those as much as you possibly can, maintaining that direct relationship with the customer as well, to keep them around, keep them coming. And it's an ongoing effort, but it's a never-ending battle. So.
Yeah, 100%. We've had similar challenges in terms of capacity and inventory, and just you also always want to be there for your retail partners who have really been so supportive of us. So working really closely with them, that's another thing that we've been very focused on. So yeah, I feel the pain.
Gwen, I think we jumped over, but what is your background? Do you have a CPG retail background?
So my background, prior to starting Beckon, I was a brand marketing manager at L'Oreal. So I did CPG, but on the cosmetics side. And skincare. So that was more my realm. And then I also, while I was there, I worked on a skincare brand called Kiehl's. And Kiehl's owns their own stores. So the team that I was on was very involved in the store experience across the world. So we were on the global team. So got kind of a little taste of everything there. And then went right into food with my other expertise, ice cream, but that's more like self-proclaimed, not actually work experience. So
very cool. Yeah, well, I don't know much about the cosmetic or skincare space, but I hear it is quite a unique category. Like if you think of like, there's only a few really dominant retail partners, if not one. And so it's like, there's that one player and then everything else. So it's a pretty interesting space.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it has been interesting to see the things that have applied and the things that don't apply to grocery. So yeah.
Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about you personally. Okay, so who is right now, who's your brand crush that you're looking at? You're like, man, I wish we could just, you just want to emulate whatever brand it is out there.
So this is a really hard one for me, I have to say, but my favorite brand right now in terms of product and then also just love what they're doing is Gia. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm going to be honest. But Gaia, are you guys familiar with it?
No.
So they are a non-alcoholic, like aperitif, I don't even know if I'm explaining it correctly, but it's delicious. I'm surprised that you haven't been targeted on Instagram for it, because that's how I got into it. But a little while back, I was like, I feel like I want to kind of reduce drinking, just look into some of these non-alcoholic options. And so every once in a while, like rather than grabbing a beer or something like that, I was like, I want to have something else on hand that feels like, I don't know, like a fun treat. And so I started getting these at actually our local butcher. And they are just so delicious. It has that kind of bitterness of a cocktail, so it feels satisfying in a way that a lot of the other non-alcoholic drinks that I've tried, they taste good, but they taste like seltzer water. So it doesn't feel like anything different from my afternoon spindrift. It doesn't have that like cocktail feel, but this really does. And I think the way that they've positioned themselves in terms of their content on social, really being kind of elevated, having the feel of an elevated cocktail experience, has just made it all the more desirable. So yeah, they're my brand crush right now.
Wait, and you said you got it at your butcher shop?
Our butcher in Jersey City is very cool. Yeah, it's owned by a young couple, and they have all the fun brands in there. I see so many. Another brand crush I have is Fly by Jing, and discovered that there as well. So yeah, they're the coolest butcher ever.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, you were
all
talking
the
about
hipster dreams come true there.
You were talking about the non-alcoholic beverages. Buddy of mine, John Wiseman, actually founded a company called Curious Elixirs.
Oh, I've tried that before.
They're really good. So the one I drink it all the time. It's Curious number 3. It's got this ashwagandha in it, so it's good for just unwinding on the couch, watching TV, just chilling, whatever, before bed. I wear my Whoop at night, and I swear, I tell them all the time, I'm like, I swear to God, this helps me sleep better at night. Like I'll get like 85, 90% recovery on my Whoop. And so I'm like, I think you're onto something there. But
yeah, absolutely. There's, I have tried that before. I don't remember which numbers I tried, but there's actually a non-alcoholic retailer in Brooklyn. So it has all like Athletic Brewing and Partake, and then it has all the cocktail kind of the types of cocktails we were just talking about, but then also any like mixers and things like that. So it's really fun. It's like a fun new category that's just, I feel like every time I see something, there's something new coming in. It's just fun to explore and try, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. And what about you guys? What are your brand crushes?
Have you tried Culture Pop yet?
I have, yes. I know the founder.
Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom First he's a good guy, and
great guy.
Again, one of the I would say, like icons in the space for what he did with Nantucket Nectar. So it's pretty cool to see. I mean, it catches second wind at this point to launch. It's a lot of work, but I'm a big fan of that product. What else is there? Tia Lupita's one where they have these tortillas that are grain free, and they use cactus and cassava flour. And Hector just does a great job. I kind of got intro to him, and I try the product and really like it. I literally just bought like a 30 pack of the tortillas and froze some of them because they're just so good.
Oh, awesome. I'll have to try those. I haven't tried them yet.
Well, aside from Curious, because obviously I just talked about them, but I think Quinn Snacks, they always do a great, like the peanut butter filled pretzels. We'll actually have Christy on the show eventually, but I was telling her, I'm like, my family, we buy them in bulk. Like, it's crazy. Like whenever I see like the Whole Foods delivery person come up, I know there's at least a bag full of them. So, yeah, I think that's one that we eat a lot of for sure.
Yeah, when I think about female and founders in this space that I really look up to, Christy is one of them. So she's very wonderful.
Awesome. Let's go back to you. So what is your superpower and why?
Oh, this is a hard one to think about yourself, but my co-founder, Katie, always says that my superpower is seeing both sides of a question or an argument. And I very much am a gray area person, not really a black and white. So I can kind of see the different perspectives. Sometimes that can be a detriment to decision making. However, I think it kind of helps us to look at what all the potential opportunities or challenges of a situation can be.
I like it. That's good. It probably helps you too as you're scaling the business and you're building out a team, being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, maybe being empathetic, that type of thing. That's a good skill to have.
But also, I mean, even so on the sales side, right? Thinking about, like the retailer, all they want is they want a good product that's going to turn too. So being able to see the other side of it as well. So
yeah, creating the best type of partnerships, because we would be nowhere without our partnerships. That's for sure.
Thinking back, I mean, anything that you've learned now that you wish you knew at the beginning that may have helped you kind of accelerate things or avoid any big mistakes that may have happened in the business?
Yeah, I think really trusting your gut, which sounds obvious, or probably like a lot of people might say that, but trusting your gut and not being afraid to make a change if you truly believe it's the right thing to do. Change can always be super scary, but it's a lot scarier the further along you get. So I mentioned that we started at a farmer's market under one brand name, and we got some opportunities to go into a few stores around our region and started to actually make the play into stores with that brand. And we went back and forth about whether or not we needed to reconsider the brand for long-term growth. Eventually, after being in I think we were in like 100 stores at the time, we actually rebranded the product and relaunched it under Beckon. And we had to recode all of our products. We had to partner really closely with our retailers to ensure that we had, our data of it leaving the warehouse and the new product coming in. All of that had to be lined up perfectly. And luckily, we had great partners at the time and really got them to see the opportunity that we did. But I would say we wrestled with that for a while, and it certainly would have made our lives a little bit easier had we trusted our gut in the beginning. But ultimately, I'm glad we did it when we did and didn't wait any longer, because we got some really great opportunities following that I think we, might not have otherwise gotten. So yeah, that's really, that's definitely one that I always try to remember. Easier said than done though.
Yeah, no, I think and it's following your gut. I think a lot of times, when we fell victim of it early on, where it's like, oh, so-and-so brand crush or somebody we respect did something, we assumed if we did that too, it would mean that we would yield the same results. And I think we've learned that's, you got to just do you. Like at the end of the day, every product category founder at the time, right? When you're doing it is so much different than what other folks have done. So just really following your gut and intuition on what you think is right for business. I think that's good.
That's something kind of going off of that. There's also so many different ways to be successful, and everybody has a lot of opinions. And I would say that this is still something that we're trying to learn and be able to kind of sort through. But mentor whiplash is definitely a thing, and everybody's going to have differing opinions, and maybe neither one of them is right or wrong. So you have to just decide what you really believe in and go behind that 100%, because otherwise you're going to spend all your time just confused and wavering. So again, I'm saying that, but we battle with that all the time. So just something I definitely wish I had realized in the beginning, and that I still even was better at.
So can you let the listeners know where can they find Beckon on the shelf or online or social media? Yeah,
so we're nationwide in Whole Foods Market, Sprouts. We're in Kroger as well, and a number of other regional natural retailers. And then you can find us on social at Beckon Ice Cream on all the platforms. And you can also find us at beckonicecream.com.
Well, Gwen, thank you so much for taking the time today and sharing your story. It was awesome to chat with you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was wonderful to meet you both, and I appreciate you answering some of my questions as well.